I'm Paul Sims, and I'm here with
Joe Furey,
Brad Isaacs,
and Vicki Lewis.
This was the first episode where we used the inimitable Tone Loc as a security guard at the front, and we named it was a little bit based on the actual guard at the front gate of our studio.
That's right,
Lorenzo. We named the character on the show Lorenzo, and didn't find out until months later that the actual guard's name was Lorenzo also.
That's fascinating.
It's fascinating to me. I think it's fascinating to me because I think out of this episode there came more catchphrases and stupid slang things that all the writers used to say to each other than anything else. Because the guard at the front gate always, when you'd come to work, we'd say, "Hey, can we get you anything to eat from our snack room?" And he'd go like, "Yeah, some chippy chips and and maybe a soda pop."
Yeah, something to gromp on.
Hold it.
Or something, no, he said. What was the actual thing he said?
Here's what happened: is that in this episode, Tone Loc at one point we have Tone Loc asking someone, "Yeah, can you get me something to chomp on from upstairs?"
Chomp on, that's what it was.
But Tone Loc never did it exactly the same way twice, and he was always embellishing the line.
Right.
Till by the final take, he said, "Yeah, just get me something to gromp on."
And that's all we said for about a month.
Yeah.
But the actual guy at the gate did say, "Hey, just get me something to chomp on, a little something to
turn around and go home."
Man, I hate it when they start to get rude like that.
He's a very rude man. There's no excuse for that type of behavior.
Exactly.
I would just like to point out that using Tone Loc was my idea.
Was it?
And it was strictly my idea because I saw him in Ace Ventura and I suggested it to.
Oh, that's good.
To someone, and
He's very
I was very
talented.
proud of that because he's hysterical.
Yeah, he is. He's funny.
I
So
said
is
that
Toby
to
Haas.
Yeah. Oh, Toby was great too.
Yeah.
But I remember we were thinking like, who could we get? And then I just had seen that movie and said, what about Tone Loc?
It's amazing he did it.
I know. I can't
Yeah.
believe it either.
You know, when I watched this episode back, I was so excited about seeing the actual scene where he says, "Give me something to gromp on," and
That you've missed it now?
No, I realized that we cut it at editing because at that time we were like,
It's not even in the show.
No, it's not. We used the take before that because we were like, gromp on? That doesn't make any sense. And then it was only after that we started realizing how funny it seemed. And
I don't even remember that. How could we have cut that? How is that possible?
I don't know. And from then on, every time
You
we
know
went
what
out.
I'm missing are the gag reels. Can I get them from
Oh
you?
yeah, we can get those, and
Those
those will
are
be
great.
on the DVD.
Oh, they
also.
are?
Yeah.
I'll have to buy one.
Yeah. I might be able to hook you up with one.
Yeah.
Now, this is another episode where we were getting pressure or encouragement from the network to have a celebrity guest star, and Vicki was the one, I think, who helped us out getting Bebe Neuwirth.
That is correct.
And you guys had worked together.
We worked together on Broadway in Damn Yankees and had been friends for years until after this episode.
Well,
I'm just kidding.
It's true. This was during that.
He never spoke again.
This was during a difficult part of season 2. You know, for the first 7 episodes, Jimmy Burrows had directed everything, and then. Yes, with season 2, we seemed to have a different director every week, and that was difficult for you guys. It was difficult for me, and it was. I think that was one of the lowest, periods in the show.
Unique filing system.
What's unique?
Well, name a topic, I'll tell you how it was filed.
Okay.
I don't recall who directed. I think there were a lot of directors, and this episode came together late. I mean, we didn't have it at the table read.
Yeah.
We were
As opposed to
every
other episode of the show.
No, but I mean, it took some fiddling. This one.
It did take a lot of.
No, we had to rewrite it several times, didn't? Because
Bebe
wanted
to
rewrite stuff, and that's what I recall.
No, I mean she did.
Too.
She had a point of view.
Which was
it was
fine,
a great point of view,
but...
and you guys worked it in eventually.
For 2 years after this, 4 years after this, I thought she hated my guts.
No, you know what? Bebe's my friend, and sometimes I wonder if she does, because she's just a very serious woman sometimes. You know what I mean?
Well, then I finally ran into her at a restaurant and reminded her of who I was, and I said, "Do you hate my guts?" And she said, "No."
Yeah,
I don't
not
think
at
she
all.
remembered
It's
who
funny
I was.
because
No,
she told me
I'm
she
sure
hates
did
both of
remember
you. So that's odd. I don't know what.
No,
this is remember the machine that
Did you see that
shreds
cut?
everything.
He has a cut on his finger already, and because he kept getting it hooked in there.
In
so
the
this must be
shredder
like
machine?
a second or third take, yeah.
A machine that shreds everything. This was a prop nightmare, wasn't this? Remember, Paul was like, "It's going to shred everything imaginable," and they couldn't get it to do that piece of paper. They couldn't get it to do.
How weird was I that jacket right there was something that I wore out to Pinot sometimes. Like, I liked it then in life.
Did you like it, or was it just about the
did.
hurry to get to Pinot?
Well, yeah, that's a good point.
How much input did you have like in the costume stuff? Did you
I
actually
think the
pick?
Emmy should have been mine.
Really?
At least 1/8 of it.
I think it should have been also. No, but did you actually?
Yeah, I'd had a lot
like,
to do with it.
But I think not during the first 7 episodes, because if you
No,
had,
no,
you would have
not
said
during the
you would have
first
said
7.
no.
Exactly.
repeatedly.
That's right. You are correct, sir. You are correct, sir.
Thank you.
Was it fun at all, like picking stuff out, or did you get kind of like sick of it?
I got sick of it after a while, but
Because you had you had the most like elaborate costumes of everybody in the show, I think.
yeah.
you?
And what's really weird is I'm looking, some of the pieces were mine from home.
Oh, really?
Some of them were.
Wow,
Did
I'm
you-
so sorry.
I know it, right?
There she is.
I'm just, I'm starting to feel funny, like there's someone in the room who hates my guts.
Isn't that funny? Boy, I don't know a lot of women that can pull off a short skirt like that. I'll tell you that.
Although plenty have tried.
Yes, it did.
No one's really wearing those outfits anymore, are they?
Were they ever?
Whores.
Oh,
That's true. Hey now.
And I'm actually dating BB, so that's really unfair of me to say that. I don't know why I said that.
You know, every time we come into one of these sessions, we say we're not going to talk about the wardrobe, because that's always what we end up doing, and then we always end up talking about it for some
Because it
reason.
was the only
Well,
Emmy
the other
the
reason-
show won.
The only reason I was saying
want to
that
talk
was
about it?
because Vicki did have very
I wear
like
those
crazy
push-up,
outfits.
they call them chicken cutlets that you put in your bra. You know, they're like the silicone, like
Oh,
if
yeah.
you did get a breast implant, but they sit in your bra.
But they're on the
It
outside.
helps make a nice cleavage, yeah. I'm
Andy
very
Dick
sorry.
wore those as well. strangely enough. It's just a cheap joke to go to now.
That's all right.
Anything Andy Dick.
That's
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
Anything with Andy works.
Now, BB, by the time she was being a guest star in this show, had been on, Cheers and Frasier. Did she at any
Right.
point during this week turn to you and go, "What the hell are you guys doing
Yeah.
here? This is not how it's
She did
done."
that often.
She did it
Yeah.
the first minute she
Well,
showed up.
I think on Cheers they changed the call time because in television land the call time's 10 and we all have coffee till 10:30 or so. And we read the script and BB, she's so she's very professional and comes from the theater, so they gave her a 10:30 call time and everybody else had 10.
Yeah, that's not the way we did
No,
it, is
no.
it?
No. Was it fun doing it, or what? Like, was it odd to you? Like, because you know her, was it like an odd thing? To...
You know what? I felt responsible for her happiness.
that's
on
what
the
I
set.
meant.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So that was a little awkward, but it all worked out actually very well.
Yeah, in the end.
Yeah, well.
I just I don't mean to keep harping on it, but I just remember this being these first 8 or 9 episodes were sort of the
Yeah. Well,
Oh.
I remember even BB and I sitting at lunch one day, writing in one of the scripts. I think even this scene that we couldn't figure out this stop-start thing here, and
Yeah, this in my memory, this
and I
was the
am not-
hardest one.
yeah.
Because, I don't know.
there was something.
I
hard
think
to get
there's
about
I think
this
there's you know what I think I even additionally felt like there's a famous person who was on a
Right.
well-run and successful
Right.
show, and we're really showing her the worst the worst of our
Well,
organizational
she
abilities.
was literally the first guest, right? She was. There was.
one. Oh, was she?
The first famous
the guest star, kind
think
of. I
so,
think.
yeah.
Not
Well,
John.
that would
It wasn't
make
John
sense.
Ritter was after this, right? Because we had never really done that at all, and then the combination of having different directors and stuff it was probably a little difficult because it was probably running a little more sluggishly than some
But
of the
you know
shows
what?
she's
I have
used
to
I'm
say,
sure.
I mean, our show was insanely run, and
That's
I
true.
loved it.
Yeah.
I hated it at times. It wasn't always easy, but it was always so creative.
Yeah, but I just mean with the different directors, and that it was
I hear
probably
what you're saying.
still up in the air, and
Yeah,
a
probably
little
was a bit.
confusing. And whereas with Tom Sharon, as it got at that point, it was,
Remember who was it, Lou, that used to wear the shirt with number 80? No, it was Josh. Would come in
was
when our
Lou.
ratings were so low, and
Yeah.
he
Oh,
would
Lou
have the
did,
number
yeah.
printed on his shirt at the table read.
Oh,
the good old days.
the good old days. What we had Tom Chironis the other day, and for me at least, when we got him about halfway through the second season, I finally felt like we had a director who could just let you guys do what you do and capture it, and it just felt like such a huge relief to have someone
was.
who didn't kind of come in with their own ideas about how everything was to be done, and
Yeah.
and it's weird. I mean, and you guys all found your characters so quickly that
It was almost a waste of time to have a director.
yeah,
that
who
was
would come in,
interested
who
doing that.
yeah.
Yeah. You know what that's
Well,
when
that was-
the show really got in a groove with Chironis.
Yeah.
It seemed like those were the best directors, too, the ones who would just allow you guys just kind of like
Absolutely.
do it and let us set the cameras up, and it always seemed that way. When some of the directors were trying to make you do stuff, it seemed like you guys rebelled.
We
a little bit.
revolted.
Yeah.
And it's hard for directors to come in when everybody's been working together, all the writers and actors, and all of a sudden here's this guy and he's supposed to be kind of in charge of everything on the floor, and
he's
sometimes
not.
they try a little too hard.
Yeah, no, exactly.
They try to
That's
sort
true.
of create something that's really not supposed to be created.
And there's also no being in charge of Andy Dick and Joe Rogan.
you just don't
It's-
do that.
it's,
Joe has 2 pit bulls and guns in his car.
Andy didn't even listen to us, so
Andy doesn't listen to himself.
no, he doesn't.
With my retina was detached.
God, he's funny.
And I was seeing all these floaties,
Oh, yeah, wow.
Yeah.
What else do we got?
I don't know.
Was this the show that was nominated for the Emmy or
No.
No, it wasn't.
No, but when you were talking on the commentary on one of the other ones I heard the other day,
Never happened.
Just kidding.
someone said we were only nominated for 1 Emmy. That's not true. Phil was nominated for an Emmy also.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, I
That's
forgot
right.
about that.
Yeah, and someone said only costume, but it's not true.
2.
2 Emmy nominations.
2 nominations.
And 1 win.
And 1
right?
win. It's not bad.
For Vicky's outfits, I
Batting
guess.
500.
This is
Can't
where we both
complain.
get to kiss Andy. Maybe this is where I got a little bit of tongue I was
I thought you
talking
said
about.
that
I thought you said
happened
happened
off
off camera.
screen.
No,
Yeah.
it did.
Oh.
It did.
But it
Now I'm
happened.
trying to make that go away. I wish I hadn't said it.
That's not going away.
Is
No,
this
it's not. It's
is this
very
maybe where you got the idea that kissing Andy might not be so bad?
No, it was earlier on than this.
Oh,
Paul.
okay. All right.
There's Joe's gay earring.
That's not gay.
Oh, it's kind of gay.
This is a set we only used. Weren't we going to use this
We
set
used this on
a
the
few more
Santa
times, and then
episode.
yeah,
that's
which
true.
also involved the door guy, the
security
guys.
53rd Street between 3rd and Lax.
Yeah, how'd you know?
Oh, lucky guess.
Did BB ever have anything good to say about any of us?
No.
No,
Never?
Didn't think so.
No.
Yeah.
What about that guy right there, the elevator guy, who just walked out? He must have liked us a little bit.
I remember never being able to get this monologue down. This one
I
little
think
run.
this is.
Well, this is one of the
hang
ones
on,
that's in
hang
the outtakes, I think, isn't it?
Oh, this is the WB Frog thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ribbit.
Yeah, I
See,
remember
it's
this
like a
is
little
like a
off. You
long.
can
It was
see this, like-
it was a huge chunk of dialogue that had you have to do like 4 different things
Yeah.
in the middle of it.
This is one of the. It's in the outtake reels, I think, where you kept laughing or something in the middle of it.
What am I
Or
walking?
crying.
We did
Yeah,
it about
I
5
can tell.
times.
Well, he's packed into those pants there.
I think that was George Hamilton as an extra that just walked behind this guy.
He used to like to do extra work occasionally. Yeah. He didn't want to do the show, but he'd like doing extra work. No one could figure that out.
You know, the other thing, I know you felt, especially in these first 2 seasons, like your part was getting smaller and smaller sometimes.
Yeah, I think I did feel that way because.
And then I felt that way too all these years, and then I watched these back, and you've got
And I'm,
tons
like,
to do
in
in
it
these
too much
episodes.
almost.
Not
Yeah.
too much, but you're in it a
Yeah.
lot.
No, why did it feel like that was happening? Why did we get that impression? I think you know what it was. It was kind of influenced by Kathy Griffin. Like you know what I mean? Like I would watch her and think I should, she was taking over, taking over the world, taking
You
over
thought
my
she was-
name. She had my name. She had my
That's right.
clothes.
No, but I
And-
do remember even if 2 weeks ago I would have said Vicki ended up with not very much, but then I watched all these back and I was like, hold it,
Yeah, I see what you
I,
mean.
was that-
I no longer feel guilty.
Yes, and nor should
But was
you.
that something that not only you talked about? Did other people say that a lot? Like, did anyone else ever? Do you
Well,
remember?
of course, your
like,
own parents say that.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
Your own friends are going to tell you you're not in it enough.
Right.
Right.
No, but I don't mean. I mean other cast members. Did like?
Oh, yeah, a
you know,
couple. I
I'm
think
I
there-
know Andy did. It's
everyone
all
must,
Andy did.
with 8 regular characters, everyone must have felt that
I
sometimes.
think absolutely, except for Phil
Yeah.
and Dave.
Phil truly was unflappable. I mean, with all the stuff that we, the turmoil and all the stuff that we went through there, I don't ever remember Phil ever getting involved in any of it.
Right.
To you, Paul? Or-
No, he seemed like he'd spent so much time on Saturday Night Live that when things. Hello.
What's going on there?
when what? When things, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. When things would get difficult and stuff, he would go like, you know what? It's a job. I'm happy to have a job. I think he, whatever.
He had seen just about everything there was to see.
I remember him saying that literally to me one time when there was like someone got into a big fight, maybe it was Joe and Andy, or something was going on the set, and Phil was just sitting there reading his lines, and I looked at him and he went, Joe, I've seen it all. This is nothing.
You know what Phil Hartman did for me is early on, we were sitting in rehearsal one day and he had the Wall Street Journal, and he said, "This doesn't last, Vicki," and we were like looking around because the show had been picked up. You know, people were getting cars and clothes and things that we'd never had before, and he taught me how to figure out the stock market. You know, he used to spend like some time with me on that, and I invested really well.
He was always reading books, like you were saying. Someone was saying he always had his aviation books, and like everyone else was kind of running around doing their thing, like worried. And Phil was always reading
nautical manuals,
exactly, or his book
books,
about
whatever his latest hobby was.
Yeah, it's so
but
funny.
that was a great piece of advice he gave me. I thought it was kind of poignant.
I had one awkward moment with Phil, and it was during we were shooting the show in front of an audience, and something wasn't working. And so we would go and talk to the actors sometimes, and Paul mainly. But and I went over to Phil, and I started to give him what I thought should have been his line reading, and I got right in the middle of it, and I looked at his face, and I could tell he was looking at me like, why are you trying to give me a line reading? And he's been very nice about it. And I sort of tailed off and didn't even finish my thought, and just sort of went back and sat down and had some coffee and didn't say anything until I quit.
That is true.
Maybe he didn't know who you were.
It's very possible. But
Maybe he thought, why is this camera guy going over and telling me? I actually found that Phil was very good about that. When you'd give him, occasionally you'd have to say try and maybe do it this way or try it like that. When he would think about it for a second and go, okay.
He was,
and then kind of just do it.
I always find it kind of pretentious when actors talk about their instrument or their voice, but he did seem like he had a logical approach to it and knew, the 18 different pitches of voice he could do and all that, and was almost like a robot in the best possible way.
Well, he kind of was, because it was funny. You'd say maybe if you were a little more angry, or you'd give him some kind of a note, and he just did a little thing. Yeah, all right, I'll do it. And he just did it. Yeah. And he did it like exactly with what you were thinking of. It was kind of amazing.
I think Phil more than anybody in a way, during the week when we'd have run-throughs and all that kind of stuff, he would sort of try a different line reading almost every time, and then we would kind of panic. We'd go back to the room and it'd be kind of awkward. Is it? Here's Phil, like the consummate professional. He's not quite hitting it, and then get in front of the audience, and he would either come up with something completely brand new again, or go back to what he had at the table, or whatever worked the best. He just played with it all week.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was sort of fun to watch him. Sort of.
His stand-in's name is Phil, and I always see him at Benihana.
Phil Dicker, you mean?
Yeah.
Phil Dicker, we found, has been mentioned on these DVD commentaries more than any of the actors.
Really?
Every time he appears in the background, everyone in the room goes, "Hey, there's Phil Dicker."
You can start to see the relief on BB's face because she knows the show's almost over. So you can start to see a little bit of joy.
As I recall, though, this one went very late that night, didn't it? Didn't we have to reshoot and reshoot? And yes, I think we did.
It was a horrible experience.
It was not
you see that machine, that candy
night.
machine in the back on the right?
Yeah.
It had all these moldy sandwiches in it all the time.
Well, we made a show about that. We made a show about that. Yeah.
Phil ate the moldy sandwiches.
That's literally where that came from. There's another example of how that, based on some dumb thing on the set or something like.
As we're talking about this episode being a low point when no one was particularly feeling good, I do have to ask. I think among the cast, one of the least favorite episodes was the rat funeral episode. Do you remember that?
You know what? And I pretended like it was one of my least favorites, but I secretly liked it because I always liked whenever I could do something where I cried.
I thought, with the rat dies, but I never. But
I liked rat funeral.
Why was it?
Well, that's what I was going to ask her. I don't know why.
What was the perception you had?
I don't know. I think it was just one of those weeks where everyone decided it was time to turn on someone. It was an arbitrary. I don't remember really why everyone.
I remember not really wanting to do the episode, but NBC had come up with one of their promotional evenings, which was
for death or something.
No, it was
4 weddings and a funeral.
4 weddings and a funeral. So
Right.
the other 4
That's right.
sitcoms that night did wedding episodes, and we got the funeral.
Symbolically enough, we got the funeral.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I remember this was, or the rat funeral one was one of the run-throughs Warren Littlefield came to, and he didn't like it either.
Right.
And I think they were upset that we hadn't really taken the funeral concept to heart. Like we'd made it like about rats in the office
See,
dying,
that's
and
what I
that
loved about it.
and that wasn't really
Right.
embracing what we were
Right.
supposed to do. But
They wanted an actual coffin and everything.
I think now we're talking about the rat episode.
Why not?
I think that came from, remember the rat epidemic at my house there for a while? I think that was
Oh my
sort
God,
of
you
the...
had
forget
so
it?
many rats at your house.
Well, you had a rat. Didn't you have a rat problem too?
Well,
Paul?
your
Yeah,
yard
but not
is
like
covered
his.
with, Brad's yard is covered with ivy, and there are rats live in ivy. You have like rats
Well, I
everywhere.
actually have ivy inside the house.
Machine. Just like to
one of
point
the
out again, that
problems.
machine never worked at all. The machine that would eat everything did not work at all.
it took 10 or 20 takes to get the special effects right, but we managed
and
to
they're
work
so
it out.
flashy when they do happen.
Yeah.
Phoebe's just thinking, please, God, get me out of here. Get me back on Frasier or something, anything.
I did Cheers for 5 years, and I'm doing this. What are these people doing?
God. Boy, this episode just does go on and on, doesn't
Joe's
it?
character was a lot of layers. This is a little bit of a draining.
It's a weird combination because I remember. I remember all the BB stuff being difficult, but I also remember enjoying the Phil or the Bill versus the security guards thing.
Yeah, that was
that was
very,
the fun part
That was
of it.
very funny.
Was
And I
that
think
in
it
this
got funnier
episode?
in a later episode too.
I think it was. I'm not sure.
No, it was. Yeah, remember
He
Tom
makes
Loke and everything.
a
There he
mad
is.
dash or something past them.
Yeah. And it got we did this a couple of times with Phil, didn't we? With the guards.
Yeah.
Then we had a Santa Claus at one point.
Yeah.
And it kind of got funnier too as it went along, as I recall, in the other episodes.
But this was also one of those ones we've talked about in other commentaries where shooting in any set that wasn't our main set was
Yeah,
death because
yeah.
the audience couldn't see it. It
That's
was off
right.
to the side. No one wanted to do scenes over there. And even, I think, now that I think about it, maybe that was one of the difficulties with this episode is that all that stuff with you and BB was
Right.
out in that hallway
what,
that
you're
the
right.
audience
Yeah.
couldn't really see.
Yeah,
And
we
so,
were around the corner from the audience.
so it felt sort of like you're in a vacuum of some
Right.
kind.
Yeah, that and
did.
BB hated doing it. No, I'm kidding. Wasn't this story based on something like someone couldn't get into the studio one day
That
or
was
something
based,
like that?
a lot of that was based on you and I working at Rockefeller Center at Letterman.
Oh, that's
and
right. Oh,
Always having,
right.
and
That's
always
right.
having difficulties with the security guards.
That's right. I forgot about that. Yeah, we'd come in and they'd
But then also at Sunset Gower, besides Lorenzo, who loved us because we always gave him snacks, you just go like, dude,
Yeah.
I'm here 7 days a week.
you'd be like, yeah, let me
They're
in.
telling us to shut up.
Can we get out of here and go grump
Bye.
on something?